I welcome you all to my today's session, which is on Introduction to Classical Sociological Thought, and in this particular module we will be discussing some of the central contributions of one of the greatest thinkers of 19th century Europe, that is Emile Durkheim. Durkheim laid the foundation of the discipline of sociology. Although the term sociology was coined by his predecessor Auguste Comte, Durkheim made sociology a part of the university and established it as an academic discipline. In order to develop the methodology of this distinctive discipline, he contributed to what is today known as positivism, the frameworks of which were laid down by thinkers like Herbert Spencer and Auguste Comte. Durkheim wanted to establish sociology as a science of society, and he wanted to employ the scientific method to study society. Like most of his contemporaries, Durkheim was deeply concerned with the changes that he witnessed in the European society during his lifetime and the coming in of the modern industrial societies. And he was concerned with the question of developing a moral bond among the people to build a sense of social solidarity. Some of his most important works include The Division of Labor in Society, which was published in 1893, The Rules of Sociological Method, published in 1895, Suicide, which was published in 1897, The Elementary Forms of Religious Life, which was his last work, published in 1912. He also founded a very famous journal, sociological journal, which is called Les and Sociologique, which was first started in 1896. We now will go over to discussing briefly the biography of Durkheim. Durkheim was born in Epinal in France in a family of rabbis, that is, Jewish religious preachers. And he was one of the first members of his family to receive secular education. Although born in a family of religious educators, he himself, however, turned to be an atheist. But his lifelong interest in religion as a domain of academic interest was striking. He was a brilliant student from his childhood, and from a very young age, Durkheim was fascinated by the scientific method and therefore sought to apply it in the study of social sciences. Durkheim aspired to be a college professor, and therefore he sought to attend the École Normale Supérieure in France. It took him 2 years to pass the entrance examinations necessary to study in this prestigious institution. After graduating in 1883, he took a teaching position in Bordeaux, where he lived till 1902. In 1902, he moved to Paris permanently to teach at the Sorbonne, where he continued until his death in 1917. Now we move over to the main contributions of Durkheim, and we will discuss his notion of social facts, his contribution to the division of labor, and finally his contribution to sociology of religion. This is how he defines a social fact, and I quote from him, "A social fact is every way of acting fixed or not, capable of exercising on the individual an external constraint, or again, every way of acting that is general throughout a given society, while at the same time existing in its own right, independent of its individual manifestations. So, social fact is basically everything that exerts an influence on individuals and shapes individual consciousness, but something which is not merely a sum total of individual consciousness. Durkheim identifies two characteristics of a social fact. First, it is general throughout the society and it is not attached to any particular individual. And second, it is experienced as an external constraint over the individual and it is not an internal drive. Durkheim emphasized again and again that social facts cannot be reduced to individual consciousness. However, the collective form of social fact has its manifestation on individual minds and consciousness, and examples of social fact would include legal rules, moral obligations, social conventions and customs. Durkheim discusses two main forms of social fact: material and non-material. Material social facts are those which have a material form and are directly observable, such as styles of architecture, forms of technology, legal codes, etc. Two features are evident in case of material social facts. These are external to the individuals and they are coercive over the individuals. Non-material social facts are, on the other hand, found in the minds of the individuals, but again, these are developed in interaction with others. Durkheim focuses on the non-material social facts and he talks about four main forms of non-material social facts. These would include morality, collective conscience, collective representations and social currents. Coming to morality, Durkheim is often described as the sociologist of morality because his lifelong concern was with morality and he recognized the importance of moral principles in guiding social life. There are two important points to be pointed out here. First, morality is a social fact for Durkheim. Why? Because according to him, morality can be empirically studied, it is external to the individual, it is coercive of the individual, and it can be explained by other social facts. And second, Durkheim was driven by a concern about the moral health of modern society. Coming to collective conscience, Durkheim defines collective conscience in the following manner, and I quote from Durkheim: "The totality of beliefs and sentiments common to average citizens of the same society forms a determinate system which has its own life. One may call it collective conscience or common conscience. It is thus an entirely different thing from particular consciences, although it can be realized through them." Unquote. Coming to collective representation, Durkheim refers to collective representations as those representations which collective conscience takes particular forms, such as religious symbols, myths, legends, epics, or symbolic representation of nationalism, which finds expression through objects such as flags, national anthem, and so on. They represent collective beliefs, norms, and values, and they motivate us to conform to these collective sentiments. And finally, we come to social currents. Durkheim believed that there are certain moments which do not have a crystallized form, which may also create a sense of social solidarity. These are the spur of the moment feelings that power a mob or a gathering into a collective mood and action. Examples of social currents would include collective disposition and sentiment of a mass gathering attending a rock concert or a protest rally. Now we move on to the second part of the discussion, which is on his contribution to the idea of division of labor. Durkheim's work, The Division of Labor in Society, which was published in 1893, has been described as one of sociology's first classic. In this book, he examines the transition from primitive to modern societies and the implications of the emergence of division of labor in modern society. Unlike some of his contemporaries and predecessors such as Comte, Durkheim did not believe that increasing division of labor in modern societies will hamper social solidarity. He argued, on the other hand, that a different kind of solidarity will emerge in modern societies because of the division of labor. Durkheim also analyzes the change in the nature of collective conscience from primitive society to modern society. So he believed that in primitive societies, broadly speaking, in such societies, there is a stronger collective conscience, that is a greater number of shared understandings, norms, beliefs as compared to modern societies. The increasing division of labor in modern society, however, causes a diminution of collective conscience. It is the division of labor which holds this modern society together rather than the collective conscience. Giddens points out that collective conscience in the two types of society can be differentiated on four major dimensions: volume, density, rigidity, and the content of collective conscience. So what are these? Volume basically refers to the degree to which the perspective held by individuals in a society are identical to those held by other members of the society. Intensity refers to the emotional or intellectual hold of collective conscience on individual perspectives. Rigidity refers to the extent to which social practices follow the collective conscience. And finally, content refers to the social institution which contributes to collective conscience. So according to Durkheim, the traditional society with mechanical solidarity is usually high in volume, density and rigidity of collective conscience. And the content of it is basically religious in character. However, in the modern society, while there is a decline of collective conscience in terms of all the aspects, the content of it is mostly something that takes the form of moral individualism. Durkheim also talks about another concept in relation to the transition from primitive to modern society, and this is dynamic density. The concept refers to the number of people in a society and the amount of interaction that occurs among them. As the evolution of society saw an increase in dynamic density, the division of labor emerged as a solution. So with the increase in dynamic density in modern societies, what resulted was a competition for scarce resources and an increased struggle for survival. Hence, division of labor was inevitable. Durkheim believed that this division of labor had entirely positive contributions to society. It gave rise to healthy competition and also allowed people to complement each other rather than being in conflict with each other. In relation to mechanical and organic solidarity, the last concept that he brings in is the idea of repressive versus restitutive law. So, Durkheim argued that a society with mechanical solidarity is characterized by repressive law, and that with an organic solidarity is characterized by restitutive law. So, what is repressive law? In societies with mechanical solidarity, which has a very strong sense of common morality, any offense against the shared value system is likely to be of significance to most individuals. And hence, in such societies, everyone believes deeply in the common morality, and therefore, a wrongdoer is likely to be punished severely for any action that offends the collective moral system. Any crime is seen as an act of transgression of the ideals embodied in the collective conscience, and therefore dealt with severe punishment with a demonstrative effect. The objective is to prevent such crimes from being repeated again. On the other hand, restitutive law exists in societies with organic solidarity, and here the offences are more likely to be seen as committed against particular individuals or a segment of society rather than against the moral system itself. Thus, instead of being severely punished for every offence, offenders in an organic society are likely to be asked to make restitution to those who have been harmed by their action. So, the broader objective of punishment here is to restore things to the original state of affairs by paying for the damage done to those who have been offended. Unlike in case of repressive legal systems, here the punishment meted out is in proportion to the amount of damage done. The broad dichotomy characterizes modern and primitive societies. However, there are societies with organic solidarity where forms of repressive laws continue to exist. For example, the law of death penalty. And now we move over to the last part of our discussion today, Durkheim's contribution to sociology of religion. He defines religion in the following manner, and I quote, "A religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices relative to sacred things, that is to say, things set apart and forbidden, beliefs and practices which unite in one single moral community called a church, all those who adhere to them." This definition, if you notice, deals with two major aspects. The first is that religion consists of a set of beliefs and practices which are around a set of sacred things. He considers beliefs to be of certain collective representations that stand for the collective conscience of the community, whereas practices are the standardized ritualistic aspects which are expected to be followed by the members of a religion. The second major aspect of this religion, of this definition, is the notion of community based on a set of moral beliefs which are common to it, for example, the church. Through this definition, Durkheim develops his unique approach to sociology of religion, which is distinctive from all other previous theorizations. It is different from both the theories of animism and naturism. Durkheim's definition of religion moves away from the previous belief-centric theorizations of religion, which would essentially focus on the idea of the supernatural. For example, Tyler's definition of religion as belief in spiritual beings is something that Durkheim would critique. Thus, he tries to distinguish his theory of religion from conceptualizations of animism and naturism. Tyler's theory of animism basically suggested that human beings and everything that makes up nature has soul, and Max Muller's theory of naturism believed in the worship of nature. Both these theories believed that nature had both a physical component that is visible and a spiritual component which cannot be touched or felt. Durkheim critiqued both these theories and developed his understanding of religion based on what he calls totemism, which was practiced among the Arunta tribes of Australia. So, what was Durkheim's study of totemism? To briefly talk about it, totemism was one of the earliest and simplest forms of religion. And based on this study of religion, Durkheim made a distinction between the sacred and the profane, which according to him is one of the fundamental distinctions to understand religion in any society. So, in this theory of totemism, the sacred represents the collective interests of the group, which are embodied in certain symbols, which are known as a totem, which may be plants or animals or any other natural object. The profane, however, involves mundane individual concerns and objects and is not represented by particular symbols or objects. Coming to this distinction between sacred and profane, we need to understand that sacred is the central element of entire understanding of Durkheim on religion. Sacred things are said to be invested with a particular dignity that raises them above our empirical individuality and then confers upon them a sort of transcendental reality. Durkheim says that sacred things are those which the interdictions protect and isolate. In other words, the prohibitions are imposed upon the sacred in order to distinguish them from everyday mundane objects, that is the profane. However, the sacred may signify both pure and impure things, and its sacredness is not something eternal or permanent, but what is sacred can become desacralized easily. The concept of profane remains the weaker one in the binary of sacred and profane. And Durkheim actually never provides a positive definition of the profane. He simply says that it is the reverse or the opposite of sacred, in quality as well as in degree. The profane is something which threatens the very existence of the sacred by mixture or touch, and it destroys the essential attributes of the sacred. And now, finally, we will wind up today's discussion. And these are some of the things that we have discussed in today's module. The importance of Durkheim as somebody who laid the foundation of the discipline, although it was who earned the title of father of sociology, it was Durkheim who established sociology as an academic discipline. He contributed to the method of sociology and he sought to establish it as a science of society by studying social fact. While he never undertook any empirical study for his theoretical formulations, his contributions to understanding the nature of modern society, his study of religion, and his study on suicide paved the way for the emergence of an entire school of thought in sociology, which is today known as functionalism. Functionalism basically explains social institutions in terms of certain positive contributions to the smooth running of society as a whole. Durkheim's perspective, while adhering to the principles of positivism, contributed immensely to the development of the discipline as a scientific study of society. Thank you for listening, and I hope to join you all in my next session. Thank you.